Hi, my name's Abdullah.
And I'm Myla, and you're listening to the youngest Canadian radio show host on CKMS 182.7 FM Radio Waterloo. We would first like to acknowledge that we are here on the traditional territory of the
Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, Ottawa and Mutual Peoples. Thank you to all our listeners for tuning in, and thank you to all those on Facebook seeing us live on our new radio show, hashtag Can Youth Vote Matter and hashtag Can Minority Vote Matter Awareness Campaign. Today we are honored to have two youths as our guests who inspire us, Max Faulhammer and Kanwar Brar. Max and Kanwar, thank you so much for being on our radio show.
Thanks for having us.
Hey youth, listen up. You're a quarter of Canada's population, and minorities, you are no less than 1/5 either. Youth, you need to understand this. Any legislation made today will affect your present and your future the most. Youth, it is true that you came out in larger numbers in the 2015 federal elections. The biggest change occurred in eligible voters who are youth aged 18 to 24. You increased from 38.8% in 2011 to 57.1% in 2015. But the turnout was highest among voters between 55 and 74 years old. 78.8% of eligible voters in this age group cast their votes. And guys, you know what most of these group members think about us, the youth. Guys, I'm winking right now. I hope you catch my drift. So youth, let Max and Kanwar tell you why your vote matters. Again, I am honored to have two youths, Max Faulhammer and Kanwar Brar, on our radio show. The first question will be asked by Ayla.
Kanwar. Can you please tell us about yourself, why you decided to join a political campaign, the candidate you are supporting, and why you decided to support that candidate or that party? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, my name is Kanwar Brar. I'm a recent grad from Laurier. I studied political science there, and I first got involved with campaigning in the 2014 provincial election, and I also assisted with the 2015 federal election. And as a student in political science, but also involved in the community, it was important for me to get involved to kind of have shape the policy and the direction of our country but also our community. So I'm currently a volunteer for Bardish Chagger, who's the MP in Waterloo and the Liberal candidate. I got involved in her campaign because she's really committed to helping those in the community and helping them succeed and making sure, like charity starts in Waterloo, that Waterloo is succeeding. And that's the first and foremost important thing to me. And I was involved in student politics, and I could always go to her and she would always listen. She's very accessible. She listens to the needs of the community and those in it, because unless we're getting that feedback, we're not going to improve. And that was my inspiration, because she's someone who inspires me and makes me want to be a better person.
Thank you.
Max, can you please tell us about yourself, why you decided to join a political campaign, the candidate you are supporting, and why you decided to support that candidate or that party?
Yeah, so I'm a third-year urban planning student right now at the University of Waterloo. And originally, I wasn't too thrilled with some of the things that I saw going on within our government here. And, there came a time for self-reflection. And I started to look what party aligned with what I thought should be happening within the country. So I ended up working with the Conservative Party, and I'm working with a gentleman now in Kitchener South Hustler named Alan Kiso. He's a fantastic candidate, extremely qualified, really in this to make a difference and represent his community, and just really touching on these issues as well. I want to see some change happen, and that's the primary reason why I'm getting involved now.
Thank you.
Max, can you tell us about the different aspects of campaigning and canvassing that you are involved in?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different aspects between raising funds, canvassing, putting out signs, which is something I was doing yesterday. But the most important part of campaigning is voter engagement. And so that's canvassing. And so what it's really about is making sure you're going out, seeing what everybody's issues are, and trying to get a sense of how everybody's feeling right now. And the reality is we have to make sure that everybody sees our local MP, because oftentimes they don't see enough of them, and we hear that across the country. So we're really focused on making sure that we're getting the issues, getting the engagement, and making sure that people know there's an upcoming election, as well as just clearing up any things that may have been said and that people have heard. So it's extremely important, and I'm sure Kanwar can speak to that as well.
Thank you.
Kanwar, I have the same question. Can you tell us about the different aspects of campaigning and canvassing that you were involved in?
Yes, absolutely. So the biggest thing about canvassing is the voter engagement. As Max said earlier, for our campaign, the most important thing is that when volunteers get involved, we want to know why they're helping out and what makes them be involved in the community and what they're passionate about. Because when they go to the door and speak with voters and constituents, they can share that. For me, I personally got involved because when I was a student at Laurier, issues regarding post-secondary are really important to me. And when constituents hear that, it's really important for them to know why you're a volunteer. So voter engagement is huge, and making sure we're listening to the needs of our constituents. That's why Bardish has been knocking on doors in between campaigns, and also especially for all the summer and during the election, because we need to hear what's on people's minds, what their feedback is, and how can we improve, because unless we're getting that feedback, we're not going to know how to be better. So that's really important, and making sure volunteers are trained, they have the resources to succeed, and also they're the administrative and logistical things of the campaign, to putting up signs in the community, going to events, making sure there's like food for the volunteers. So those things come up, but the most important is knocking on doors and listening to people and see how they're going to vote, and if we can give them any advice on questions they have.
Thank you.
Kanwar, why do you think the youth and minorities' votes matter, and what steps can be taken to get them more involved in the election process?
Yes, I think the most important thing about the youth and minorities getting involved is they have to ensure that they're represented in government. As is mentioned in the intro of the radio show, 18 to 25-year-olds, they saw a huge engagement spike in the 2015 election. I think that's also as important for this one, because the policies and the legislation which is being implemented now impacts us today, but also in the future. So 10 years from now, when we're in the workforce and we're involved in the community, that's going to impact us today and tomorrow. So I think that's really important for you to get involved and understand that why it impacts them to the extent it does, and especially for marginalized groups as well. Sometimes they may not be represented in government, and they have to kind of feel like like their issues can be heard and represented in Ottawa and at the level of government, so they can advance and succeed as much as anyone else. So I think that's the most important thing for them to acknowledge, that hey, this community belongs to everyone, regardless of where you come from, and that's the most important element of politics.
Thank you.
Max, why do you think the youth and minorities' votes matters, and what steps can be taken to get them more involved in the election process?
Yeah, so I obviously echo Kanwar's sentiment. I mean, it's extremely important that youth and minorities are voting, because you have an opportunity to really make aware your issues to politicians if you do vote. And by making those issues aware, then you are able to enact changes that you want to see in the future. It's the reason why Kanwar, I'm sure, got involved. It's the same reason I'm getting involved, and the same reason you guys are doing this great radio show here. In terms of actually getting more youth involved and engaged, this is a great start for that. At the grassroots level, doing radio shows like this, hosting youth, hosting candidates like you have been doing, it's really fantastic to see, as well as just getting in volunteers, as well as opening up opportunities for youth within politics, making sure that we have them even represented in politics. I know there's a gentleman in Northern Ontario who's running for the Conservative Party. He's 21 years old. And I'm sure that's the same thing with every single party throughout Canada as well, that they have young people now getting into politics because they realize they can make a difference, and they should be making a difference for the future and today.
Thank you.
Max, what are the 3 things that are most important to you in the upcoming federal elections to be held on Monday, October 21st, 2019?
Yeah, so my big one, I'd say, is the economy and affordability. I want to be able to afford certain things when I get older, as well as have a job when I walk out of here. I think it's a concern we're hearing across Kitchener, South Espler, as well as Canada. A lot of people are feeling a little pinched right now, so just easing that up a little bit. Another one I'd say, being an urban planning student, is infrastructure. I'd like to see more funds being driven towards infrastructure right now. Across the country, we're lagging behind, and we have been lagging behind for the last number of years, whether it be any government on actual infrastructure spending and new spending. So I'd like to see an increase in that, as well as the deficit. I'd like to see our debt load as well as the deficit come down a little bit. I think we can't be mortgaging our future and services in the future to spend money today and what we have today. So I'd like to be able to live in a fiscally responsible country where we can actually be able to continue to offer the great things that we do in the future as well.
Thank you.
Kanwar, what are 3 things that are most important to you in the upcoming federal elections to be held on Monday, October 21st, 2019?
The most important thing, I think, in top 3, the first and foremost would be climate change. I think there is a climate emergency where, our environment around us is changing, and we have to take drastic action for that. The Liberal government has shown the steps they will take, and because they're committed to this issue, and I think that's important because in 10 to 15 years, as we are all older, especially youth, we're going to have to face the consequences of that. And it's at this point, it's imperative that we take positive action to help mitigate that. That's really important to me. Another thing important is helping the middle class. I come from a middle class family. My family immigrated to Canada when I was only 10 years old. And I saw some of the struggles they went through when they had to first integrate into the economy, into the workforce. And I think that's important that a government takes the steps to ensure those at the bottom and coming from marginalized groups have all the support and resources they need to succeed in the workforce and outside the workforce as well. And then third, I would say representation. We need elected representatives who are reflective of the population we're in. They understand the needs of the community. And I think that's important because once we have the representation in government, they're actually able to address the needs of everyone within their constituencies. And to me, that matters a lot.
Thank you. Kanwar, will you like to give any advice to the youth who are eligible to vote in the upcoming federal elections?
Yes, I would say when you're deciding to vote, do a thorough research on issues which matter to you the most. So as you had asked, the top 3 issues which are important to us, I think it's important for you to reflect on the 3 or even 5 issues, which impacts them the most, and asking those questions of the candidates and challenging those notions, because until you do your thorough research and ask the questions of everyone running for office, you won't know which party and which representative is going to offer the best solution. So I think that's most important in understanding why you want to vote, because there is a reason, something the federal government does which impacts you on a daily basis, and you have to understand that. So vote based on who your local representative will be, because they will be the ones who fight for you in Ottawa once they're elected, and go and speak with them. I think the accessibility is really important to show that you're willing to listen to everyone. So that would be my advice, that do your research and ask questions, because that's where democracy starts.
Thank you. Max, will you like to give any advice to the youth who are eligible to vote in the upcoming federal election?
Yeah, so Kanwar touched on a lot of really good points there. I completely agree with all of them as well. I just say basically go vote, period. You should be voting. As well, I'd say make sure you know what level of government deals with which issue. We don't like to see people voting for certain parties or different sort of candidates expecting a different result when they can't do anything. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes people ask us at doors about parking tickets and the parking on the streets. Unfortunately, that's not a federal issue. That's a city issue. If you were to vote for any party at the federal level, we can't deal with city parking for you. So make sure you know what level of government deals with what, and then make your decision based off of that.
Thank you. Kanwar, what is it about your candidate that inspired you to join and support her?
I'm currently involved with Brar, who's the Liberal candidate in Waterloo. What inspired me to get involved with Brar and help her out was her commitment to the community. As I said, when I was a student at Laurier, I was involved in student government. Her door was always open for us. She would always listen to the issues we were having, and she took them back to Ottawa. And I saw that not only through the student issues, but the other issues impacting constituents. She's always at the forefront. She wants to listen to what you have to say, listen to your feedback, and be able to assist you in any way the federal government can. She's really accessible, she's really open, and she's really down to earth. When you speak with her, you really understand how committed she is to being the member of parliament, and the difference she's made in the community in the past 4 years, and if re-elected, the difference she'll make. And to me, that's really inspirational personally. She's a personal mentor. I learn a lot from her every day, and she teaches me a lot how to be a better person, how to be a better person and a volunteer, and just kind of give back to the community, because end of the day, it's what we do and how we invest back in our community what makes us good.
Thank you.
Max, what is it about your candidate that inspired you to join and support him?
Yeah, so I'm supporting Alan Kiso in Kitchener South-Esther, as I previously mentioned. And the one thing I'd say that really makes me want to work hard with Alan is his work ethic. Growing up, he worked in his family sawmill, which had been the generation for 5 generations, I think he'd said. And that really taught him that extremely good work ethic. And so when he ended up going out into university, he ended up getting an MBA as well as a master's in the environmental sciences. And that really gave him a foundation to be able to discuss policy as well as do his current career, which is being a small business consultant. The other really cool thing about Alan is that he served in the Armed Infantry Reserves for 5 years in the UK as well as Canada. And so that strong service to country is the same kind of mentality he brings every single day to this job. He sends weekly emails on every issue he hears at the door back to the party, whether they like it or not. And that's the kind of same work ethic you'll see from Alan as we keep going into the election cycle here, as well as if he is fortunate enough to become the MP. So wide breadth of experiences that really can enable him to represent the people of Kitchener South-Esther on a very good basis.
Thank you. Max, is there anything you would like to add? Because we've been going a little too fast.
Yeah, no, I think the most important thing is make sure you make an educated decision. When you vote, I think we've touched on that a fair bit here. And yeah, just know who your candidates are, know the issues, try and discern what different kinds of, what messaging is real and what isn't, and overall make an informed choice.
Kanwar, is there anything you would like to add?
I would ask both of you, what matters to you? I know you're not able to vote yet,
Well,
but that's really important. And I know Alla couldn't be here tonight, who's done a lot of good work in getting the youth and minority vote represented through other radio shows, speaking with other elected representatives. So I would ask, what are some issues which do you think are important?
some of my issues are education, because Doug Ford has been cutting our education, and I've already lost a lot of teachers in my school.
Okay.
And it's not really good to lose teachers, because
Right.
he's cut art, he's cut a lot of subjects.
For me, it would probably the environment, because without the environment, we wouldn't be here. If we wanted to grow up healthy and successful, we need the environment. Without it, we wouldn't be able to do that. So if we have a strong and healthy environment, we will be able to grow up and become better in life. But without it, we're just destroying the oceans, we're polluting them. So the environment is one big thing, yeah. So, yeah.
Right on. And I think those are really important things to touch on, right? Because there's a reason you're doing this, because you care about the community, and it's important to hear that. And those who represent us need to know, regardless of your age, that those are issues which are important. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and even if those issues can't be addressed at certain levels of government, it's still very important that you do bring them to whatever representative you have in your community, so that they all know it's still an issue, whether it be city, provincial, or federal.
I want all our listeners to know that we neither support nor oppose any guest or their views. Our awareness campaign is solely to make youth and minorities become more involved in the election process. Hey guys, subscribe to my Twitter at @Isla_awesome, which is at @AYLA_awesome, and Instagram, Isla_awesome forever, AYLA_awesome forever. Hey listeners, we are expecting our grandmother, uncle, and auntie to visit us soon and see how beautiful our country, Canada, is, and how with hard work and with support we have come to be what we are today. Minorities, if visas for your family and grandparents are something you hold dear and close to your heart, then your votes are what holds all the power, and I know many of us have our visa rejected and we become upset and lost. But if you use your vote and go out and talk to your candidate that this is important to you, then this is what your candidate, once elected, will help you with. Hey listeners, we are also looking for sponsors for our other projects specifically made for the kids in our community. Just a walking distance from our studio is Google. Hey Google, sponsor our projects. Timmins and Walmart, what about you? For more information, visit our website www.alaconciel.ca, which is www.alaconciel.ca. Youth and minority, let us know what's important to you so you can share it here. You can text us at 519-721-2905 or email us at ourchildrenmatter@alaconciel.ca. Again, thank you Max and Kanwar for being on our radio show, and thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to catch us same time, same channel, CKMS 102.7 FM Radio Waterloo. Remember, #Can Youth Vote Matter and #Can Minority Vote Matter. It does. It does. Wait. I know I'm supposed to say thank you and we're supposed to end this, but we still have 8 minutes. So, what do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
So, I have a question for you. What are you studying?
So I'm studying urban planning. So it's primarily to deal with how cities are built and how they function together. And so there's many different aspects to that, whether it be the environment, which is a key issue and key issue I'm interested in right now, whether it be from the policy development side, whether it be from land development, transit, all of those things and how they interact together are key parts of urban planning. So that's what I'm really looking forward to here in the future, helping make sure that we create sustainable and good working cities together.
What are you studying?
So I studied political science at Laurier. So I would have graduated about a year ago now. And I kind of focus on Canadian politics, so their role in federal government, interprovincial relations. So what role do the provinces play in our federation, and some of the power sharing, the fund allocation, some policy side of things as well. So just kind of exposed myself to a wide breadth of knowledge within Canadian politics, and had a really good program. So, yeah.
Keep on talking.
Kanwar, can you explain some of your experiences being the Laurier Student Union president?
Yeah, so I was the Laurier Student Union president. I ran for office in 2016. I was the president the year after. And yeah, it was a really cool opportunity because you get to oversee a whole not-for-profit corporation with a budget of $10 million. So I had 5 vice presidents who worked right under me. I had a full-time staff support, and a lot of the work we did was within the Laurier community to ensure students were able to succeed. They had the programs and the resources necessary from first year, but also all the way until they graduate. We worked very actively with their local representatives, so from our mayors, our councilors, city staff, but then also other levels of government, because it's important. And as Max had said earlier, it's important for all the elected representatives to know what issues are impacting you, because in Waterloo, there are 3 post-secondary education institutions. We have University of Waterloo, we have Laurier, and we have Conestoga College. So the demographic of students is pretty significant. And those who are elected represent us, they need to know the issues which are important to us. Through the role, I got to go to Ottawa, and that's where I also, met with Bardish and kind of spoke about our issues impacting students. Got to work with other student unions from across Ontario as well, from Northern Ontario to Southwestern, basically everyone who cared about student issues. So yeah, it was a really, really good experience. It opened a lot of doors for me. I learned a lot, and it was really good.
Now I can say it. Again, thank you, Max and Kanwar, for being on our radio show, and thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to catch us next week, same time, same channel, CKMS 102.7 FM Radio Waterloo. Remember, hashtag Can Youth Vote Matter and hashtag Can Minority Vote Matter. It does. It does. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. This is great.